Once upon a time, there was a man named Obina. He was one of those rare people who made money quietly and helped others without shouting about it. Even though he was rich, very rich, he didn't behave like the other billionaires in Lagos who loved showing off. Obina wore simple clothes, drove himself sometimes, and always remembered people's names. The man was gentle, thoughtful, and kind. But more than anything else, Obina believed in love. Real love. That was why, when he met Amora, he gave his whole heart without holding back. Amora was beautiful. Her smile was like sunshine, and her voice was soft and sweet like melted honey. She always knew the right things to say. From the first day they met at a charity dinner, she looked into his eyes and said, "You don't look like someone who brags. I like that." Obina had smiled shyly and said, "I just prefer to let people talk." They started dating, and within 3 months, he was already thinking about forever. He took her on trips to Paris and South Africa. He bought her a brand new car for her birthday and even helped pay for her mother's surgery. Everyone around him said, "This girl is lucky. Obina is gold." But what no one knew was that while Obina was falling deeply in love, Amora was playing a different game. In public, she smiled sweetly and held his hand like a dream bride. But behind closed doors, she rolled her eyes when he wasn't looking and laughed with her friends about how soft he was. "If you love him so much, why do you sound bored?" Kayoma, her best friend, once asked. Amora had laughed and replied, "Love? Kayoma, be serious. This man is my breakthrough. I will marry him, enjoy the money, and then breathe." Kayoma had looked at her with wide eyes. "So, you don't feel anything for him?" "Feel what?" Amora had scoffed. "I feel peace when I look at his bank balance." Kayoma had turned away. She didn't like how Amora talked about Obina. It didn't feel right, but it wasn't her business. Or so she thought. As the wedding drew closer, Obina worked day and night to make sure everything would be perfect. He wanted a wedding that would make Amora proud. A wedding fit for a queen. He booked the biggest hall in Lagos. He flew in a live band from Ghana. He paid for her family to stay in the best hotel. Every day, he asked her if she needed anything. "Amora, are you okay with the flower colors?" "Yes, baby," she would say, smiling. "Do you want to change your dress design? I can call the designer." "No, Obina. You're doing too much already." He believed every word, every smile, every soft thank you. But on the night before the wedding, something happened. Obina was in his hotel room at the Wellspring Hotel, trying to rest, when he got a strange message on his phone. The number was unknown. The message said, "Your bride is in Eco Suites. She's not alone. Room 412. Obina stared at the message. His chest began to feel heavy. At first, he thought it was a mistake. Maybe someone was trying to ruin the wedding. Maybe it was a prank. He stood up, paced around the room, and then sat down again. He didn't know what to do. Finally, he picked up his phone and called his driver. "I need you to come pick me now. We're going to Eco Suites." "Sir, is everything okay?" the driver asked. "I just want to check something." They arrived at the hotel around 11:15 p.m. The lights were still on. Obina walked in calmly, his heart thudding in his chest. He took the elevator to the 4th floor, alone, and stood in the hallway, facing room 412. He could hear music playing softly inside. Then he heard laughter. Amora's laugh. He knew it too well. He moved closer, right to the side of the door. The door wasn't locked fully. It was slightly open. What he saw through the crack broke his heart into pieces. Amora was in lingerie. She was sitting on top of a man, legs wrapped tightly around his waist. She was kissing him like her life depended on it. Obina's hands began to shake, but he didn't make a sound. "I missed you," the man said, chuckling. "I missed you too," Amora replied breathlessly. "I hate pretending with that soft fool. But tomorrow is the big day. Once I marry him and the money drops, we disappear." The man kissed her again. "You're sure he won't suspect?" "He worships the ground I walk on," Amora said proudly. He'll never know. Obinna stepped back slowly, like a man walking away from a fire he couldn't put out. He walked to the elevator. He didn't press the button for a long time. He just stood there, staring at the floor. His chest felt tight. His throat was dry. He had given this woman everything. And now, this? As he entered the car, his driver looked at him through the mirror. "Sir? Are you all right?" Obinna didn't answer immediately. After a few seconds, he whispered, "Drive." Back at the hotel, Obinna didn't sleep that night. He sat by the window, watching the sky change from black to purple to blue. As the sun began to rise, he made a phone call. "Kyoma, I need your help." "Obinna, it's 5:30 a.m. What's going on?" "I need you to record everything that happens at the wedding today. All of it. Every word, every face. Don't ask questions. Just trust me." "Okay," she said softly. "I trust you." "And Kyoma," he added, "thank you for being honest, even when it was hard." Kyoma didn't understand what he meant, but she could hear the sadness in his voice. He didn't shout. He didn't cry. But something inside Obinna had broken. And he wasn't going to let this wedding go the way they planned. Not anymore. Not after what he saw. Obinna didn't leave his hotel room for hours. After what he saw at Eco Suites, the woman he was supposed to marry kissing another man, whispering betrayal into his ears without knowing, something inside him turned cold. The morning sun was rising, but there was no joy in it. The light poured into his suite, touching the floor gently, but nothing felt warm. Obinna sat on the couch in silence. His phone lay beside him. He hadn't touched it since calling Kyoma. He couldn't. He didn't cry. He didn't scream. His eyes were dry, but his heart felt like it had been crushed in a fist. The pain sat quietly in his chest, refusing to move. "Why me?" he whispered to no one. He looked around the room. The wedding suit he had picked was still hanging by the wardrobe. His shoes were polished. The golden cufflinks with the letter O engraved on them lay on the table, waiting. Everything was perfect. Except the bride. The woman he had planned his future with had been lying to him the whole time. And worse, she wasn't even sorry. Obinna stood up slowly and walked to the mirror. His reflection stared back at him. Tired eyes, lips pressed tight, jaw stiff. He looked like a man going to war, not a wedding. His phone buzzed. He didn't want to check it, but he forced himself. It was a message from Amora. "Good morning, my king. I can't wait to become your wife today. You make me feel like the luckiest girl in the world." Obinna stared at the message for a long time. He shook his head, placed the phone down, and whispered, "No. You make me feel like the dumbest man alive." He walked to the bathroom, turned on the tap, and splashed cold water on his face. His mind was already working, slowly, but clearly. This wedding would still happen, but it would not end the way Amora thought. Obinna wasn't a violent man. He didn't believe in shouting or breaking things. But this betrayal, it couldn't go unpunished. He wouldn't walk away quietly and leave her to enjoy his name, his wealth, and play the victim in front of the world. She wanted a wedding. He would give her a wedding. And then, he would give her something to remember for the rest of her life. He picked up his phone again and dialed Kyoma. She answered immediately. "Obinna. Are you ready?" he asked quietly. "I've been up since your call," she replied. "I packed my camera. What's going on?" "I can't tell you everything yet," Obinna said. "But you'll know when the time comes. Just be ready to record." "Okay," she said. "I trust you. But Obinna, are you sure you want to go through with this wedding?" He smiled faintly, though his heart was heavy. "The wedding, yes. The marriage? Never." There was a pause. Then Kyoma said gently, "I always knew she didn't deserve you." Obinna closed his eyes. "I didn't want to believe it. I thought I could love the truth out of her." "She never loved you," Kyoma said softly. "She loved what you gave her." "I know," he whispered. Then he ended the call. Downstairs in the lobby, the hotel was already buzzing. The wedding planners were moving things in and out. Delivery vans lined the parking lot. Guests were arriving. The makeup artists had come. The hair team was waiting. Photographers were setting up. It was showtime. Obinna changed into a simple white shirt and black joggers. He didn't want to wear his suit yet. He walked down to meet his best man, Chinedu. Chinedu slapped him on the back. Obi, today's the big day, my brother. Are you ready? Obinna forced a smile. I'm ready. Ah, see your face. You don't look excited at all. I didn't sleep well. Nerves? Chinedu asked, laughing. Something like that, Obinna replied. Well, you're lucky, oh. You're marrying a fine babe. Amora is class. Obinna looked at him for a moment and said, sometimes beauty hides the sharpest knives. Chinedu frowned. Wait, what does that mean? Obinna shook his head. Don't worry. Just make sure you're beside me when it's time for vows. Chinedu looked confused but nodded. No voila. Back in her own suite, Amora was laughing with her bridesmaids. The air smelled of perfume and hairspray. Laughter echoed as girls took selfies and clinked wine glasses. Amora sat in front of the mirror, her wedding gown already halfway on. She looked perfect. Flawless skin, flawless smile. Her friend Bisi smiled. I still can't believe today is the day. You really made it, babe. Amora smiled proudly. From two-bedroom flat in Igbida to Mrs. Obinna Okoye. The girls screamed and clapped. Another bridesmaid asked, are you really going to go through with your plan after the wedding? Amora looked around carefully, then whispered, of course. Give me 6 months. Once his money moves into my name and I'm legally tied to him, I'll get a lawyer and walk away. They gasped. Bisi whispered, and Tunji. Amora gave a secret smile. He's waiting. We already looked at houses in Spain. One of the bridesmaids said nervously, but what if Obinna finds out? Amora laughed. Obinna? That man is blind. He thinks I'm heaven sent. She stood and adjusted her veil. Let's give him the best day of his life, before we take everything. Meanwhile, Obinna stood in the hallway outside the wedding hall. His heart beat slowly, like a drum waiting for war. He had spoken to the media team. He told them exactly where to set the projector, and exactly when to play the video Kioma would send soon. He looked calm. Too calm. People greeted him with hugs and smiles. Congratulations. You're a lucky man. Your bride is a dream. He nodded, smiled, thanked them. But inside, his chest was stone. By noon, the church hall was full. Guests sat in rows. The choir was singing softly. The priest stood at the altar. Amora's parents beamed proudly, dressed in gold and wine-colored lace. Obinna's mother wiped tears of joy from her eyes. Then the music changed. The doors opened, and Amora walked in. Her white gown glittered. Her face glowed. People gasped. Phones clicked. Cameras flashed. Obinna turned to look at her. She smiled at him, like an angel walking down from the clouds. He smiled back, but this time, his smile was hollow. As she reached the altar and took his hand, she whispered, I'm so happy, baby. He looked deep into her eyes and said, so am I. The priest began. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here to witness the union of this man and this woman in holy matrimony. The crowd listened closely. The air was full of joy and excitement. Obinna's fingers were cold, but he stood tall. Then the priest turned to him. Do you, Obinna Chijioko Koye, take this woman, Amora Yume, to be your lawfully wedded wife? The whole room held its breath. Obinna held Amora's hands and said calmly, before I answer that, I would like to show my bride a gift. The priest blinked. A gift? Yes, father. A very special one. He turned to the media team and nodded once. The lights dimmed. A projector screen came down from the ceiling. People looked around, confused. Then, the screen lit up, and the room fell silent. Amora's voice came first. Loud. Clear. I hate pretending with that soft fool. But tomorrow is the big day. Once I marry him and the money drops, we disappear. Gasps. Then laughter. He worships the ground I walk on. He'll never know. Suddenly, the video played. Amora on top of Tunji. Her arms around his neck. Their bodies close. Their faces touching. Someone screamed. Another guest dropped their phone. Amora stood frozen, her mouth open, eyes wide. Her father stood up, trembling. Amora, what is this? Her mother shouted, Jisoo, my daughter, what have you done? The guests began whispering loudly. Obinna turned back to the priest. So, to answer your question, father, no, I do not take this woman to be my wife. He faced Amora. You wanted a wedding. I gave you one, but I will not give you my name, or my soul. He dropped the mic and walked away. The church hall was no longer peaceful. What was supposed to be a joyful wedding had turned into a battlefield of whispers, gasps, and eyes full of shock. The video was still frozen on the screen. Amora and Tunji, locked in a kiss, bodies pressed tightly together, her voice clearly saying, once the money drops, we disappear. People couldn't look away. Some guests had covered their mouths in horror. Others had started walking out slowly, whispering as they left. Obinna had walked out too, calmly, without a word. But Amora, she was still standing at the altar, frozen, her legs shaking, her face pale under her heavy makeup. The priest didn't know what to do. He looked at the crowd, then at Amora, then at the projector like he was still hoping someone would say it was all a joke. But it wasn't. Amora finally stepped back. Her heels clicked softly on the marble floor. Her breath came out in quick bursts. Turn it off, she whispered. Nobody moved. I said turn it off, she shouted, louder this time. Still, no one moved. Not the media team. Not the guests. Not even the choir. Then Kyoma stood up from the second row. She had her phone in her hand, still recording. Amora saw her and snapped. You, she screamed. You did this. Kyoma didn't flinch. She stood tall, her voice calm. No, Amora. You did this. All I did was press record. You were always jealous of me, Amora barked. You wanted him for yourself. Kyoma's eyes burned, but her voice stayed steady. Obinna is a good man. You didn't just break his heart. You mocked him. You planned to destroy him. And now the truth is out. Amora turned to the guests. It's a lie. That video was edited. It's not real. A woman in the crowd shouted, so your face is fake too. Another added, this is why men don't trust women anymore. Her father stood up, his voice shaking. You embarrassed this family. In front of the whole world. Daddy, please. Amora cried. It was just a joke. Tunji means nothing to me. Please. Her mother grabbed her arm tightly. What were you thinking, Amora? After all this man has done for you. He paid for your surgery, your brother's school fees, your father's debts. I was confused, she stammered. Her mother's slap was loud. It echoed across the church like a gunshot. You're not confused, her mother hissed. You're wicked. Amora held her cheek. Her eyes filled with tears, but nobody moved to comfort her. She turned toward the church doors, but a few cameras blocked her path. Reporters had started arriving. The whispers had reached outside. And now, everyone wanted to catch a glimpse of the disgraced bride. She ran down the aisle, lifting her dress, stepping on the hem, nearly falling. The makeup artists and bridesmaids had disappeared. The choir had stopped singing. The priest slowly packed his Bible, not saying a word. Outside, the bright sun did nothing to hide the shame on her face. Photographers followed her. Amora, is it true you cheated on your groom? Who is Tunji? Were you really planning to run away after the wedding? She covered her face and shouted, Leave me alone. But the damage was already done. Meanwhile, Obinna sat in his black SUV, parked at the far end of the parking lot. The windows were tinted, so nobody could see him inside. He sat in silence, watching people leave the hall in groups. Some looked shocked. Others looked impressed. Many were just confused. Chinedu sat beside him, arms folded, lips pressed tight. After a long pause, he said, "Obinna, that was something else." Obinna didn't answer. Chinedu turned to him. "You planned all this?" "I gave her what she wanted," Obinna said quietly. "A wedding she would never forget." Chinedu nodded slowly. "And what now?" Obinna finally looked up. His eyes were calm but sharp. "Now, I move on. Just like that. I won't cry for someone who laughed at my love. I won't bleed for someone who used me like a ladder." Chinedu sighed. "You're stronger than me, brother." Obinna opened the car door. "I have a press release to write." Chinedu followed. "Do you want help?" Obinna shook his head. "No, but I want you to post the video. Everywhere." Chinedu blinked. "You sure?" Obinna nodded. "People must know. Not just for me, but for every good man who has been fooled by a pretty face and soft lies." Chinedu stared at him. "This is going to shake the internet." "I want it to," Obinna said. "Let it shake." As they walked back toward the hall, most of the guests had already left. Some women were still gossiping by the entrance. Two older men stood near the garden, discussing what they had just seen. "That girl is wicked," one said. "That boy dodged a bullet," the other replied. Obinna passed them without a word. Kyoma stood by the side, waiting for him. When she saw him, her eyes softened. "Are you okay?" she asked. He gave her a tired smile. "I'm not okay, but I will be." She placed a hand on his shoulder. "I'm proud of you." He looked at her. "I didn't know who else to call." "I'm glad you called me," she said. "If it were someone else, they may have helped you hide it. But truth needs light." Obinna nodded. "Thank you." They walked into the empty hall together. The projector was still up. The screen was blank now. Just a white cloth hanging like a ghost of what had just happened. Obinna sat on the front pew. Kyoma sat beside him. "I wanted to marry her so badly," he said. "Not because of her beauty, but because I thought she made me feel whole." Kyoma looked at him carefully. "You don't need someone to make you whole. You need someone who doesn't tear you apart." Obinna laughed softly. "That's true." There was silence for a while. Then he said, "You always warned me." "I tried," she said gently. "But when someone is in love, their ears stop working." He smiled. "Mine were deaf." They sat there for a long time, not talking, just breathing. Then Obinna stood. "I think I need air." They walked outside. The photographers had left. The staff were packing things. Chairs were being folded. The golden wedding arch was already being taken down. What was meant to be the happiest day of his life had become the loudest lesson of his life. Obinna looked up at the sky. It was clear. The clouds had moved. The sun was bright. He closed his eyes for a moment and whispered, "Thank you, God, for showing me the truth before it was too late." Kyoma heard him and nodded quietly. They stood side by side. Not lovers. Not strangers. Just two people who knew what pain looked like, and what truth sounded like. And even though Obinna's heart was broken, there was something in the way he stood, tall, strong, unshaken, that made it clear. This was not the end of his story. It was just the beginning of a better one. Obinna stood by the church entrance, watching the workers take down what was left of the wedding decorations. The golden arch where he was supposed to kiss his bride was now being folded and tied like something useless. The white chairs that held over 200 people just an hour ago were stacked one by one, like nothing big had happened there. Even the red carpet was being rolled back. But to Obinna, everything still felt loud. Even silence had noise now. He closed his eyes for a moment. The picture of Amora with Tunji, the way she kissed him, the way she laughed while planning to use and dump him, still played in his head like a movie that refused to end. His phone vibrated. He pulled it out of his pocket slowly and checked the screen. It was Chinedu. Obinna answered. "Guy," Chinedu said, The video has reached Twitter. It's everywhere. Obina's voice was calm. Good. Instagram too. Blogs have picked it up. They're calling it the wedding scandal of the year. I expected that, Obina said. Let them see what love turns into when lies are planted in it. Chinedu was quiet for a moment, then said, Obi, are you okay? I'm not okay, Obina said, but I'm still standing. Chinedu's voice lowered. You need to rest, bro. The storm is coming. I know, Obina replied. I'm ready for it. They ended the call. Obina looked up and saw Kayoma walking toward him from the side of the building. She had taken off her heels and was now wearing flat slippers. Her makeup was smudged. Her hair had loosened a bit, but she looked calm, like someone who had been through fire but didn't burn. She handed him a bottle of water. You'll need it, she said quietly. Thanks, he replied, taking it. He drank slowly. She stood beside him, watching the workers continue. Everything is coming down, she said softly. It's better this way, he replied. It means I'm finally free. Kayoma nodded. Then she asked, do you think she regrets it? Obina didn't answer immediately. He thought about Amora's face when the video played. How her hands shook. How her voice cracked as she screamed for it to stop. She regrets getting caught, he said at last. Not what she did. Kayoma sighed. You're right. A black Toyota pulled up near the church gate. Obina and Kayoma turned to look. It was Amora's father. He stepped out slowly. His face was dark, his eyes red. His agbada, once bright and proud, now looked dull and tired. He walked toward Obina with heavy steps. Obina stood still. Obina, the man said, voice low. Can I speak with you? Kayoma stepped back, giving them space. Obina nodded. Yes, sir. The older man looked at him for a long time. I'm sorry. Deeply sorry. Obina said nothing. I raised a daughter who shamed me, the man continued. And I don't blame you for what you did. I would have done worse. Obina finally spoke. She made her choice. And I made mine. I want to ask, is there any way this can be fixed? Can we make this right? Obina's eyes were calm but sharp. There's no fixing betrayal, sir. Only distance from it. The man looked down. Understood. He turned and walked back to the car slowly. Obina watched him leave. Kayoma came back beside him. He's just as embarrassed. He should be, Obina said. They pushed her toward money instead of values. Silence settled again between them. Then Obina checked his phone. His inbox was full. Hundreds of messages. Missed calls. Some from family, some from friends, and many from people he didn't even know. He opened one of the messages. It was from a blogger. Hello, Mr. Obina. I know today was difficult, but we would like to feature your story on our live show tonight. Would you be willing to speak about your experience? Obina laughed quietly. Even bloggers want to eat from the ashes, he said. What will you do? Kayoma asked. I'll say nothing, for now. Let the video speak. Just then, his phone rang again. This time it was his mother. He answered quickly. Mama. Obina. Her voice came through, gentle but shaky. Are you okay, my son? I'm fine, Mama. I saw the video. I know. There was a long pause. You did the right thing, she said quietly. I prayed this morning that if she wasn't meant for you, God should stop the wedding. Obina felt his chest tighten. Then your prayer worked, Mama. He showed me who she really was. Come home, Obina, she said. Don't stay there too long. I will, he promised. Soon. They ended the call. Kayoma looked at him. You know, after all this, people will still say you were too harsh. I don't care what they say, he replied. If a man doesn't defend his own peace, who will? She smiled faintly. Well said. Obina looked at the almost empty compound. Only a few staff were left now. Then he said, I want to do something crazy. Kyoma raised an eyebrow. Like what? I want to donate everything. The decorations, the food, the drinks. I want to send them to an orphanage. Kyoma's eyes widened. You're serious? I was going to feed people today, he said. Why not feed the right ones? Kyoma stared at him for a long moment. Then she whispered, You're not just a good man, Obinna. You're the kind of man the world doesn't deserve. He looked at her. Softly, he replied, I just don't want this pain to go to waste. Within the hour, calls were made. Trucks were redirected. The caterers who had prepared 300 plates of jollof rice, chicken, and small chops were told to deliver them to a local orphanage in Mushin. The decorators packed the untouched gifts and sent them to a shelter. The wedding cake, 5 tiers of white and gold, was sent to a hospital for the children's ward. As news spread, people online couldn't believe it. Obinna didn't just cancel the wedding. He turned it into charity. This man is a king. Who raised him? I want to thank her. Obinna didn't check the comments. He didn't care. He was done proving anything to anyone. That night, he returned to his private house. The rooms were quiet. His suit still hung by the door. He took it down, placed it in the back of his wardrobe, and locked it. Not out of hate, but to remember what it taught him. He sat on the couch and stared at the ceiling for a while. Then he smiled faintly. She wanted to wear white to destroy me, he whispered. But I wore silence to set myself free. He stood up, walked to the window, and watched the stars. His heart was bruised, but it was still beating. His love had been wasted on the wrong person, but he still had love to give. Just not to Amora. Never again. The next morning, Lagos woke up buzzing. News of the wedding that ended in disgrace had flooded every corner of the internet. People on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, even WhatsApp groups, were all talking about one thing. Obinna and Amora. The groom who exposed his cheating bride. The bride who kissed her ex the night before her wedding. By 9 a.m., the video had been viewed over 6 million times online. Blogs carried headlines like, Watch, Groom exposes bride with hotel video at the altar. What a woman did for money will shock you. Meet Obinna, the groom who walked away with class. It wasn't just the video anymore. It was the pictures too. Amora's stunned face. Obinna walking out in his white suit, calm like a king. The church full of guests with open mouths. Even Kyoma's tearful eyes caught the camera's attention. Everybody had something to say. Some blamed Amora. Some praised Obinna. And some just wanted more gossip. But while the world talked, Amora was hiding. She sat on the edge of her hotel bed, still wearing the wrinkled robe from the night before. Her wig was off. Her makeup had smudged into dark lines under her eyes. Her phone kept ringing, but she didn't pick. The room was quiet except for the sound of her shaky breath. Her mother banged on the door again. Open this door now, Amora. Leave me alone, she shouted. You disgraced us, her mother screamed from outside. Do you know what people are saying about you? Your father can't even go outside. Amora pressed her palms over her ears. I didn't ask for this, she cried. It wasn't supposed to go like this. Then how was it supposed to go? Her mother yelled. Amora stood up and kicked the table. A glass cup shattered. She walked to the mirror and stared at herself. This is all Tunji's fault, she muttered. He said everything would be fine. He said I could marry Obinna, take the money, then leave quietly. She picked up her phone, hands trembling. She dialed Tunji's number. It rang, and rang. No answer. She called again. Still no answer. She threw the phone on the bed and screamed. Then she snatched her bag, pulled out her ATM cards, passports, and cash. Her hands were moving fast now. Her mind was racing. She had to leave. People would find her. Reporters, friends, even strangers who had seen the video. She couldn't face them. She grabbed her charger, stuffed clothes into a small box, and ran out of the room. Her mother saw her and grabbed her arm. Where are you going? I said leave me alone. Amora, Don't walk out like this. People are downstairs. But Amora didn't stop. She pushed past her mother, ran to the elevator, and smashed the button. The door opened. She stepped in. The elevator door closed. Downstairs, as she walked toward the exit, people turned and stared. That was her. The bride from the viral video. 2 men whispered. She's even more wicked-looking in real life. Another woman snapped a picture. Amora covered her face and rushed outside. The sun was too bright. Her shame felt heavier under it. She waved down a taxi and jumped in. Just drive, she told the driver. Where to, madam? Anywhere but here. She sat back and pulled her hood over her head. Her hands were cold. Her heart was pounding. She picked up her phone again. She called Tunji. Still no answer. She opened WhatsApp. Tunji last seen. 7:15 a.m. She sent him a voice note. Tunji, where are you? This wasn't the plan. Everyone is blaming me. I need to see you. Nothing. Then her eyes widened. His profile picture was gone. She checked again. Blocked. No, 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 she whispered. She tried calling again, this time with a different number. This number is no longer reachable. She stared at the screen, frozen. Tunji had disappeared, vanished, taken what little dignity she had left, and run. Back at Obina's estate, the gate man opened the door quietly as Obina walked out for a morning walk. His hoodie was pulled low, his steps slow, but his face calm. Kyoma drove in at the same time. She parked and came out holding a paper bag. I brought you breakfast, she said. Obina smiled faintly. Thank you. They sat on a bench in the garden and opened the pack. Jollof rice, fried plantain, and eggs. He took a bite and looked around. The birds were chirping. The flowers were fresh. The sky was blue. Everything looked normal. But inside, he was still healing. Kyoma watched him carefully. You don't have to be strong all the time, she said. I know, he replied. But if I break now, who will put me back together? She was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, have you heard anything about Tunji? Obina shook his head. He ran. Just like I thought he would. You think he used Amora too? Obina looked at her. They used each other. But she knew what she was doing. Kyoma nodded slowly. Some people don't deserve second chances. They barely deserved the first one, Obina said. He leaned back. Funny thing is, I almost believed she loved me. Kyoma said nothing. Obina turned to her. Did you ever love someone who didn't see you? She looked away. Yes, and I learned to stop looking at them. They were quiet for a long time. Then Obina said, I want to do something. What? I want to post my own video. Not the one from the wedding. A new one. I want to tell my story with my own voice. Kyoma nodded. You should. That night, Obina sat in his study, turned on his camera, and began to speak. The room was quiet. Just him, the chair, and his truth. He looked straight into the lens. My name is Obina Okoye. I was supposed to get married 2 days ago. But instead of saying I do, I showed a video of betrayal. It was painful. But it was necessary. He paused. I loved someone who lied to me. She kissed another man a few hours before our wedding. She laughed about using me, and I stayed quiet until it was time to speak. He took a deep breath. Not because I was weak, but because I wanted the truth to speak louder than my anger. He stared into the camera. To every man or woman out there who has been lied to, used, or betrayed, I want you to know, walking away is not weakness. It's power. He ended the video and uploaded it. Within minutes, the video spread. People commented. Now this is how a real man handles pain. Obina is teaching us what self-respect looks like. Please protect this man at all cost. While Obina's video was spreading peace, Amora's face was being printed on magazine covers with bold red titles. Gold digger bride caught on wedding day. She cheated before saying I do. She had tried calling people for help, Nobody answered. Her bridesmaids stopped replying. Her cousins avoided her. Even her aunt, who once bragged about her beauty, told others, "We warned her," but she didn't listen. She finally found a hotel far from the city center and checked in under a different name. She sat alone in the dark room, eating plain bread and water. No lights, no music, no love, just silence and regret. But even in that silence, Amora wasn't sorry for what she did. She was only sorry that she got caught. The days that followed the ruined wedding felt like a long, slow storm. Everyone knew what happened. You didn't even need to explain. Just mention the name Obinna, and people would say, "Oh, the groom who exposed his cheating bride at the altar." It was like the world had taken sides, and almost everyone stood behind Obinna. Bloggers called it the classiest breakup ever. Online groups shared his video with titles like "This is what self-respect looks like." Even radio shows were talking about it. But while people clapped for Obinna, Amora was sinking. She stayed locked in the small hotel room she rented under a fake name. The room was hot and smelled like dust. The air conditioner barely worked. The bed sheets were old and itchy. Nothing felt clean. But she didn't care. She lay on the bed all day, staring at the ceiling. No music. No calls. No makeup. No mirrors. She didn't want to see herself. Her phone battery was dead, and she didn't bother charging it. Nobody was calling anyway. Her father had told her not to come home. Her mother sent one final message. "You brought shame to all of us. I don't know how to face anyone anymore." The world was moving on, but Amora wasn't. Then, one afternoon, she left the hotel to buy bottled water from a small kiosk down the street. As she walked, two teenage girls passed her and pointed. "That's her," one whispered loudly. "The bride from the video?" the other asked. "Yes," the first one said. "The one that kissed her ex and wanted to run away after collecting the groom's money." Amora didn't wait to hear more. She dropped the water bottle, turned, and walked away quickly. That night, she sat alone on the bed and whispered to herself, "I have to disappear." She picked up her phone, charged it for the first time in days, and searched for Tunji again. Nothing. His number still didn't go through. But something made her type his name on Facebook. And what she saw made her mouth fall open. Tunji had changed his name on Facebook. He had also removed all pictures of them together. But that wasn't the worst part. He had posted a new photo, standing in front of a flashy car, holding a wine glass, with a caption that said, "New life, new wins, no distractions." Amora's fingers shook. She scrolled through the comments. People were praising him. "Boss man. You finally made it. You deserve it, bro." She felt like vomiting. She had lost everything. But Tunji had escaped like a rat, free and proud. "No," she whispered. "He used me. He made me do this. He can't walk away clean." She opened her old email. She still had voice notes, messages, pictures, even chats that showed the plan to trick Obinna. She sent them to a few gossip blogs. And by morning, the tide had turned. Breaking. The man behind the scandal, Tunji exposed as a scammer. Exclusive. Bride's ex-boyfriend advised her to marry and run. Full chats leaked. People were shocked again. Tunji's words were clear in the voice notes. "Collect the ring, collect the money, then divorce him and come to me. The man's a fool. He won't see it coming." Photos showed him counting bundles of money on hotel beds. One blog even tracked his previous arrests for fraud. Suddenly, Tunji became the villain too. His Facebook page was filled with insults now. "So you're the one who planned everything. You're a thief. Shame on you." Tunji deleted his page. But it was too late. The damage was done. Obinna sat at his dining table, sipping tea while scrolling through the latest blog posts. He saw the headlines about Tunji, the leaked chats, the comments, the insults. He didn't smile. He didn't celebrate. He just looked at the screen and whispered, "Good." Kyoma knocked on his door and walked in. She saw him sitting with his phone and asked, "Did you see it?" He nodded. "They are finally dragging Tunji too," she said. "He deserves it," Obinna replied. She sat across from him. "Amora sent the messages, didn't she?" "Who else?" he said. "She's drowning, so she's pulling him down with her." Kyoma shook her head. "At least now the world knows you were played by two people, not just one." Obinna looked up. "They can know anything they want. I've made peace with it." "You don't want justice?" Kyoma asked. "I already got it," Obinna said. "The day I walked out of that church." Kyoma was quiet for a moment, then smiled. "You're stronger than you know." Obinna leaned back. "You know what I've been thinking?" "What?" "Starting over." "With who?" "With myself." She smiled. "That's the best way to begin." He nodded. "I've been meeting with builders. I want to finish that youth center I promised last year." "You're still funding it?" "Yes," he said. "If I could plan a wedding for someone who lied to me, I can plan a future for children who believe in themselves." Kyoma smiled warmly. "You're not just a good man, Obinna. You're a good seed. Wherever they plant you, you'll grow." Obinna looked at her, really looked this time, and for the first time since the wedding, he smiled from his heart. Meanwhile, Amora sat in front of a small TV in the hotel lounge. Her hoodie covered her face. She watched as a news anchor spoke. "The man believed to have influenced the bride's betrayal has now been exposed. Sources say he's under police investigation for fraud, identity theft, and false account ownership." The video cut to an old mugshot of Tunji. Amora's heart twisted. She used to think that smile was charming. Now, it looked evil. She left the lounge and returned to her room. She stared at herself in the mirror for a long time. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "I ruined everything." She picked up her phone and stared at Obinna's name. It was still saved in her contacts. She hadn't called him since the wedding. Now, her finger hovered over the green button. She pressed it. It rang. Once. Twice. Then. "The number you have dialed is not available at the moment." Tears filled her eyes. She tried again. Same message. Obinna had blocked her. She sat on the bed and cried. Not loudly. Not like someone begging. Just quiet tears rolling down her face. For the first time since everything happened, it finally hit her. She didn't just lose a wedding. She lost the only man who ever truly loved her. Obinna stood on the empty land where the youth center would be built. It was quiet. Peaceful. Chinedu joined him with building plans in his hand. "They said we can start foundation next week." "Perfect," Obinna replied. A group of small children played on the far end of the land. One of them ran up and said, "Uncle, are you the man from the wedding video?" Obinna looked at him and smiled. "Yes, I am." The boy said, "My mummy said you're a hero." Obinna laughed gently. "Tell your mummy I said thank you." He looked at the boy and added, "Study hard. One day you'll build something too." The boy ran back to his friends. Obinna turned to Chinedu and said, "This is what matters now. Helping people. Living with truth." Chinedu smiled. "I've never been prouder to be your friend." Obinna looked at the sky. The sun was setting, painting everything gold. And for the first time in weeks, his heart felt light. It had been 3 weeks since the wedding that never happened. The world had started to calm down. The noise online was slowing. New stories had taken over the blogs, politicians, celebrity breakups, and business deals. But for Obinna, life wasn't just moving, it was rebuilding. He now woke up early, took long walks through his compound, drank ginger tea, and sat quietly in his study to read. He hadn't touched his wedding suit again. It was still locked away in the back of his wardrobe, untouched like an old chapter. But something had changed in him. He didn't walk with pain in his chest anymore. He wasn't angry. He wasn't bitter. He was free. And that freedom made space for something new. That morning, Obinna stood in the garden trimming the flowers himself. The sun was out but not too hot. A light breeze passed through the trees, brushing the leaves like a soft whisper. Kyoma pulled up in her small Toyota. She stepped out wearing jeans and a t-shirt, holding a folder in one hand and a bag of fruits in the other. "You're turning into a gardener now?" she asked, smiling as she walked up to him. Obinna looked up and wiped his forehead. "I like doing it. It's quiet." Kyoma handed him the bag. "Mangoes and oranges. Fresh from the market." He smiled. "You're spoiling me." "You deserve it," she said. They walked to the back veranda and sat on the wooden bench under the shade. Obinna opened the folder she brought. It had the final designs for the youth center. Kyoma had helped gather everything: architect drawings, school plans, even a small library proposal. "I wanted to make sure you saw this before I submitted it," she said. Obinna flipped through the papers slowly. His eyes moved from one page to another. After a while, he looked at her. "You really believe in this project, don't you?" he asked. "I believe in you," she replied. There was a pause between them. A warm silence. Not awkward, just full of meaning. Obinna placed the folder down and looked at her properly. He studied her face, the way her eyes moved gently, the way her lips curved when she smiled, the peace she carried. "Kyoma," he said quietly, "do you know I didn't expect you to stay?" She blinked. "Why?" "After everything that happened, I thought most people would disappear. People always run when things get messy." She leaned forward. "But I'm not most people." He nodded. "You've been here through it all." She smiled. "I was always here. You just didn't see me." That line hit something deep in him. His heart stirred, not in pain, but something softer, like the start of something new. Before he could speak, his phone rang. He glanced at the screen. Unknown number. He answered. "Hello." The voice on the other end was soft, shaky, familiar. "Obinna, it's me, Amora." His body froze. Kyoma noticed the change in his face. "I just wanted to hear your voice," Amora said. Obinna stood up slowly and walked a few steps away. His back faced Kyoma now. "Why are you calling me?" he asked, his voice calm but firm. "I've been trying to reach you," she said. "You blocked me." "Yes. For peace." "Obinna, I know I don't deserve it, but please, can I just talk to you?" He closed his eyes and breathed in. "I'm listening." "I messed up," Amora said. I know what I did hurt you. I was stupid. I let greed and pressure blind me. But I swear to you, I never planned to fall so deep into it." Obinna didn't say anything. Amora continued, her voice cracking. "I've lost everything. My family doesn't talk to me. Tunji is gone. People insult me every day. I'm alone." Obinna replied gently, "Choices have consequences, Amora." "I know," she whispered. "But please, I just need a chance to say I'm sorry. Face to face. Please, just give me 10 minutes. Obinna thought for a long moment. "Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Grace Garden Cafe. Public place." Amora let out a breath. Thank you so much." He ended the call and turned around. Kyoma was still seated, quiet. He walked back slowly. "Was that her?" she asked. "Yes." "She wants to see you." "Yes." Kyoma's face didn't change, but her eyes dropped slightly. Obinna sat beside her. "I'm not meeting her to return to the past," he said softly. "I'm meeting her to close the door myself." Kyoma looked at him again, this time with full understanding. She nodded. "I get it," she said. "You want peace, not answers." "Yes," he replied. "I already have the truth. Now I want the ending to be mine." The next morning, Obinna arrived at Grace Garden Cafe before 10. He picked a quiet table near the window. He wore a clean, simple shirt and black trousers. No fancy jewelry, just himself. At exactly 10:02, Amora walked in. She wore a long dress. Her face was bare, no makeup. Her shoulders were hunched. Her eyes were tired. She spotted him and walked over slowly. "Hi," she said. Obinna nodded. "Sit." She sat down and looked at him for a moment. "You look well," she said. "You look different," he replied. They were both silent. Then Amora started. "I don't know where to begin." "Begin with what you came to say." "I'm sorry, Obinna," she said. "I know that doesn't fix anything. But I needed to say it. I betrayed someone who loved me with his whole heart. You didn't deserve what I did." Obinna nodded. "I agree. I was wrong. And I lost something I may never find again." He looked into her eyes. "You didn't just lose me, Amora. You lost yourself. And now, you're trying to find what's already gone." Tears filled her eyes. "Do you hate me?" "No," he said softly. "I don't hate you." She looked surprised. "I don't carry hate," he continued. "I carry lessons." She wiped her eyes. "Thank you for meeting me." "I didn't meet you for you," he said. "I met you for me. So I could forgive you fully and let you go." She nodded slowly. "Is there any hope for us?" she asked. Obinna shook his head. "That door is closed. I won't walk back into pain." More tears rolled down her cheeks. "I wish I could go back," she said. "But we're here now," Obinna replied. "And here is where we start over, just not together." Amora lowered her head. After a long pause, she stood up. "Goodbye, Obinna." "Goodbye, Amora." She walked out of the cafe. Obinna sat still, breathing slowly. His heart was not heavy. This time, it was light. He paid the bill and walked outside into the sun. That evening, Obinna returned home and found Kayoma sitting on the porch with 2 cups of tea. "I thought you might need this," she said. He smiled and sat beside her. She came. She cried. She apologized. Kayoma listened quietly. "I forgave her," he added. "But I made it clear it's over." Kayoma smiled. "I knew you would." Obinna looked at her for a moment. Then he asked, "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why did you stay?" Kayoma thought for a moment. Then she said, "Because when the storm came, I saw who you really were. And that person was worth standing beside." Obinna looked down, then back up. "Kayoma, have you ever thought about us?" She didn't answer right away. Then she said, "I used to, but I buried it when you got engaged." "And now?" She looked into his eyes. "Now, I'm ready to think about it again. If you are." Obinna reached out and took her hand. "I am." They sat there, fingers locked, sipping tea under the soft evening light. The past was gone. The pain had passed. And something new was finally beginning. The sun was high over Lagos, shining gently over the city. It wasn't too hot. The weather felt calm, like something good was in the air. Obinna stood in front of the large mirror in his room, buttoning the last piece of his navy blue suit. He looked sharp. His tie matched the small gold pin on his chest. He wasn't dressing for a wedding this time. Today, he was hosting something bigger. Something that meant more than rings and vows. Today was the opening of his youth center, the same project he had been working on quietly while the world talked about his broken wedding. But it wasn't just an opening ceremony. It was a charity ball. People from all over the city were coming. Wealthy families, small business owners, teachers, even students. And standing beside him through all of it was Kayoma. She wore a long green dress that flowed behind her like soft leaves. Her hair was packed neatly, her smile was full of peace, and her eyes sparkled anytime she looked at Obinna. She didn't need makeup to shine. She had grown into someone who carried quiet beauty, inside and out. Obinna turned to her as he picked up his wristwatch. "You're sure everything is ready at the venue?" Kayoma nodded. "Everything. The guests are arriving. The press is already setting up their cameras. The DJ is testing sound. The hall looks perfect." Obinna smiled. "Thank you for holding me up." She smiled back. "Thank you for standing again after falling." They left together, driving to the event center in the black SUV. The journey was quiet, but not empty. Sometimes love doesn't need loud words. Sometimes it just needs presence. When they arrived, A crowd had already formed outside. Banners with Obina's name and the charity's logo were everywhere. Some people clapped as they stepped out of the car. Others waved. Inside the event hall, everything was glowing. Lights lined the stage. Tables were set neatly with white cloth, gold centerpieces, and name cards. There was a soft scent of flowers and fruit in the air. Obina walked slowly through the crowd, greeting everyone politely. His voice was steady, his eyes warm, but deep inside, he still had one thing on his mind: how far he had come. As he stood by the edge of the stage, waiting for the program to start, Kyoma walked up to him again. "You look like a man ready to own the world," she said, gently adjusting his collar. "I only want to serve it," he replied. Just then, Chinedu rushed up to them. His face looked confused. "Obina, she's here." Obina's face tightened. "Who?" "Amora." Kyoma blinked. "What?" Chinedu looked around nervously. "She's at the door, dressed in white. She says she wants to speak to you." Obina stayed silent for a moment. His mind was calm, but something in his chest felt tight again. Kyoma touched his arm. "You don't have to see her." "I know," he said quietly, "but I will. One last time." He followed Chinedu to the side entrance of the hall. And there she was, Amora, dressed in white. Again. This time, not in a wedding gown. Just a simple dress that looked like it used to be expensive, but now hung on her like borrowed clothes. Her hair was tied back. Her makeup was plain. She held a small purse in her hand, shaking slightly. She looked up and saw him. "Obina," she whispered. "Please, just 5 minutes." He nodded once and stepped outside with her. They stood under a tree, where the noise of the event couldn't reach them fully. "I heard about the charity," Amora said. "I saw the flyers online. I didn't want to come. I told myself I wouldn't. But something pulled me here." Obina stayed quiet. She looked up at him. "I lost everything, Obina. My home, my friends, my name. But most of all, I lost the only man who ever truly saw me. The one who loved me before I even knew how to love." She stepped closer. "I know I can't fix it. I know I hurt you. But I had to try, one last time, to say something I didn't say properly before." "What's that?" Obina asked, his voice calm. "I'm sorry," she said. "Not just for the betrayal, but for not recognizing your worth. You were the blessing I prayed for, and I treated you like a backup plan." Obina's eyes stayed on her. His face didn't move. "You can hate me if you want. You can walk away again. But I had to say it. Obina. I had to tell you that I've changed." Obina breathed in, then out. "I don't hate you, Amora. I never did. But I won't walk with someone who only wants me when the world leaves them behind." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "Do you love her?" Obina knew who she meant. He nodded. "Yes, I do." Amora wiped her face, slowly. "Then I won't stay," she said. Obina didn't stop her. He didn't offer a hug. He didn't promise friendship. He just watched as she walked away into the quiet street, her white dress disappearing into the distance. He walked back into the hall. The music was soft now. The host had just announced him. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the man whose strength has inspired us all, Mr. Obina Okoye." The crowd clapped loudly as Obina walked up the stage. He stood behind the mic, looked at everyone, then smiled. "Thank you," he said. "Thank you for being here. Not just to open this center, but to open something bigger, hope." He paused. 3 weeks ago, I thought my life was ending. But what I thought was a breakdown was really a breakthrough." People nodded, clapped lightly. "This center is not just a building. It's proof that pain doesn't have to end us. It can build us. It can lead us to better." More claps. He smiled again and looked across the room. And there she was, Kyoma, in the front row, smiling at him, with eyes full of pride. He stepped down from the stage after the speech and walked straight to her. She stood, and he took her hand. "Kyoma," he said softly. I don't want to wait anymore. She looked at him, heart pounding. Wait for what? He pulled something from his jacket pocket. Not a ring, but a small, folded note. He handed it to her. She opened it. It read, Will you build this life with me? She looked up. Yes, she whispered. They hugged. And the crowd, without even knowing the full story, clapped again. Because sometimes, you don't need to know everything to feel that something true is happening. The night continued with dancing, food, laughter, and soft music. But in the middle of it all, Obinna and Kyoma stood side by side, just looking at each other. No lies, no masks, just two hearts that had waited, quietly, for the right time. And now, the right time had come.